Hello,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, everyone. Great to see you here. So, in the next 30 minutes, we will be talking a little bit about how we do developer experiences at the Lego Group, and also talk a little bit about how we do our developer platform in the Lego Group. And we are going to have a ton of fun, hopefully, in the next 30 minutes, but I would like to start on a serious note. So please pay attention, because there will be prizes in the end. With that out of the way, I think we're ready to have some fun. I would like to just go over the agenda for the next 30 minutes to tell you a little about what we are going over here. So I will start by talking a little bit about our mission at Lego and why that is also important for our developer experience and developer platform. I will go a little bit into our digital organization and how we are set up to deliver in a DevOps fashion, and also how that plays into our developer platform. Then we will have a look at why even bother with a developer platform in the first place. So why even spend energy on this? Then my colleague here, Waqas, he will talk a little bit about our journey. So what have we been through so far in the, year that we have been building this platform, and what are some of the challenges we have had to overcome in that time. Then we will zoom in on a specific challenge that we have had regarding scalability, and not scalability of the resources, but more scalability of the team that we have and the organization that we need to activate around us, and how we solve that. Then, in the end, we will take you on a tour where we will show you some pieces of the platform and give you some insights into how it actually looks. But just before we start, we just want to introduce ourselves so you know who you are looking at here. My name is Jonas Rask. So I'm a master brick picker. My secret skill is that I can spot all of the rare bricks in a random pile. Besides that, I'm a leader. I'm an engineer as well. Personally, I'm 37. I have a wife. I have 3 kids. We also call them customers. I think by now they are probably also gold customers. I'm heading up the developer platform team. And then I've been working for the last 6 years with developer experience and developer platforms. So that's also a big passion of mine. I'm here today with...
My name is Waqas Ali, and I'm also a master brick picker. I can also locate some pretty cool bricks in a pile of bricks, and I can also make stuff. But in Lego Group, I work as a lead engineer on the developer platform that you will see today. I have a passion for coding. Other than my day job, I have a family. I have 2 kids, also customers as well, you can call them. Gold customers by now, actually. And I spend time with my family most of the time, spend time in the gym, talk about gym all the time, and play games, PC games, console games.
Lego games.
Lego games, yes,
Good.
definitely.
All right, let's take a look at it. We'll start with our mission. So in Lego, some of you might have heard about this before. We have a company-wide mission that is inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. So we actually want to inspire children to be creative problem solvers, and to also unlock their full potential. And we'll come back to that in a moment, why that is also important for developer experience. So with everything we do at the Lego Group, we like to be able to measure it. We like to be able to be data-driven and talk about how something works and why it works. So in this case, we are measuring it by how many children are we actually reaching every year. So that's our measurement. And in 22, we were actually able to reach 9.8 million children with our different play experiences and play programs, activities, and the physical brick. we have an ambition that in 32 we will be reaching 75 million. So that's quite a leap from where we are today. And of course, that also means that we need to be creative in how we go to market. And that's also why digital is such a big bet in Lego at the moment. If we look at our organization, I would actually just start by playing a little video that will show a little bit about our digital organization. And now you just have to imagine there's a lot of sound.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I agree. So, as you can see from this pretty cool video that we just established that it is, we are building a lot of digital products, and we are really ramping up on that as well. So, we need, of course, a way of organizing ourselves to be able to deliver all of these products that we intend to deliver. So how we organize ourselves today is that we use a series of domains. Each domain is actually catering for a specific group of end customers. So that might be consumers who go to the stores to buy the Lego brick, people who go to lego.com to buy Lego bricks. It might also be a domain that is catering for our partners, for example, all of the partnerships that we are doing. So that is how we are divided into the different domains. Each domain will then consist of a series of subdomains, where each subdomain will contain a number of digital products. So there's a correlation between the products and that. Then we have a couple of domains whose main focus is to deliver a foundation of services and some platforms that can be used across all of the different domains and products that are being built. And that's where our developer platform actually exists in one of these. We call it Baseplate, our adoption of Backstage. And I just wanted to show this picture. This is from the book called Team Topologies. So if you read that, you might be able to recognize some of this, because it's actually the same structure we are using here. So each of the, say, horizontal domains that we have consist of stream-aligned teams. And then on the side, we have all of the enabling teams and all of the teams building platforms that would serve the rest of the customer-facing domains, I would say. So let's get to the juicy stuff. Why even have a developer platform in the first place? So I hope I have alluded a little bit to it already, but before we dive into the details here, I just want to show you some numbers on our digital organization. So currently we are more than 1,200 engineers and developers across the Lego group. We have more than 230 products that are being built right now, that are in development. We have more than 3,000 repos, and to make things even worse, we have more than 200 DevOps tools to choose from. So that can be a confusing landscape for engineers and developers. So what we did to begin with was actually trying to identify the pain points of developers. So we've done a lot of research, internal research in Lego to figure out where do developers and engineers struggle today. So we have used interviews with existing developers and engineers. We have used surveys to kind of capture what is the satisfaction with the tooling we have today. We have scoured the internal communities. So we have communities, for example, for observability or for API strategies, and trying to figure out what are people talking about there, what are the struggles that they face there. We have looked at information from Service Desk to actually see for new engineers joining Lego, what are the most asked questions? So when people go to Service Desk, what are they actually asking about? What are the issues there? And then we've looked into the support channels, not only Service Desk, but also support channels we have on Teams, for example, where we can see what people are struggling with. And the number one thing that people are struggling with as an engineer or developer at Lego Group is discoverability. So that is finding stuff, finding APIs, finding people, finding products, finding documentation, guidelines, best practices, and so forth. Number two is onboarding. So actually the stuff we took from our service desk shows that 80% of the new employees, they struggle getting access to platforms, access to tools, because they don't know where to go, they don't know who to ask. So this is a big one as well. Then we have developer documentation. So this is partly a discoverability problem, but it's also how to actually say, what are the guidelines to create quality documentation and what is relevant to put out there for everyone to consume, and where do we actually collect all of it? It's a struggle today. The last one is guidelines, so that is boilerplates, best practices, guides on how to do your job in a certain role. And we have a few pieces of feedback from interviews here around discoverability. So people saying the tools are fine, it's just that there's no way to discover what Lego uses and for which purpose. So again, things are scattered all over the place. There's not a central place to actually find it. On onboarding, it's the same. There's no developer onboarding. There's no intro to developer at the Lego Group. So how are you actually a developer at the Lego Group? What do you need to know? There's no one place to find that. There's documentation here, so no documentation that covers it all end to end and answers the question. We've also had a problem with documentation that is too detailed, so it's too internal to a product team, for example, and not really useful for others. And the last one with the guidelines here, there's too much cognitive load. We need some shared engineering best practices and guidelines. So it all talks about the discoverability of these things as well, of course. If we have to relate this back to our mission, so how does a developer platform actually contribute to our Lego mission? Well, the way we see it is that by having a developer platform where we remove all of this friction and toil from the developers and engineers, we will actually put them in a position where they can create digital products faster than they can do today. So hence, we will indirectly contribute to our mission in Lego. We increase the productivity, we reduce the cognitive load. That means more products are getting out there in the hands of the consumers. If people have a bad idea, we can also let them fail faster. Or if they are trying out new stuff, we do a lot of experimentation in Lego. They're trying out new stuff and they find that something is not working. This tool will also let them fail faster, and they can go and use their time on something else. Now, Waqas will talk a little bit about our journey and what we've been up to so far.
Yep, thank you, Jonas. So now that you have a little bit of background on what were our thoughts and how we could help indirectly towards our mission in the Lego Group, so we went ahead and we implemented our internal developer portal, which we call Baseplate. If you don't know what Baseplate is, all the Lego fans, this plate where you can build on top. That's what we call it. So baseplate, and that's exactly what it does. It allows you to build on top. I will show you how a little bit later. It's built on top of Backstage. So we went ahead and used this open source product from Spotify and used it to build our internal developer portal. I will show you that in a minute. But first, let me talk a little bit about something that we call monitoring our user journey. So when we implemented our Backstage into the organization, we started to monitor and see where, based on the data that we get, what would be the best thing for the developers that we could go and do. And for that, we started to observe our users, which are developers in this case. And for that, we used this terminology from a guy you might know, David Attenborough, where we actually watch the developers from the sides of our offices or corners of our offices. So we observe these creatures from corners and see what do they do. And we found very interesting things. I'm going to share one of them with you. And that was, of course, there were other things. We don't have time to talk about those. But this interesting thing was creation of identities. There's something called identity in the cloud that we have. And this is some kind of a process that you follow to get the identity in the cloud that already existed before Baseplate. But what we found out, since developers are creative creatures, you can call them in David Attenborough's language, what they did is they took another flow that we had in Baseplate. It was UI for creation or registration of APIs. And as a byproduct of that, you also get an identity, but that gets the job done. So developers found a way to bypass the main process and then get the identities anyway, because the main process was already there, but maybe people were not using it because maybe it was a little bit hard to answer questions. Some of the things that the form asks you, you have to dig or ask somebody else to get the answer. So it was not that straight away. And we thought about, okay, so how do we solve this problem? And then we, before I tell you that, the approach that we used this term, maybe you have heard about it before, paved path. But we looked at paved path versus desired paths. So what's the desired path? I was driving the other day, I was biking the other day to work, actually 2 days ago. And I stopped in the middle because you can see this path that comes from the woods. I was coming from there, and then I had to merge into this bike lane. But then I noticed I used to take this path every day when I was biking. And this was the desired path for me, and apparently a lot of others. So the path that they built, the paved path, I was not using that because I had to stop, turn, then stop, then merge. So I looked at that and said, hey, why not use this example? So I took this picture just for this presentation. And then I also found out that Walt Disney also used this whenever the parks were built. He also used this strategy where they put up the grass and let the people walk onto the grass. And then after some time, when enough people walk, you can start to see a path. And then he built the sideways on those places, because that's where people want to walk. And looking at that example, so what we did, we took this approach, and when we introduced identities into Baseplate, so that means the other process, whatever it was, we took it down, because that was not the desired process for our community. We created a simple UI in Baseplate where people can come and create their identities. And if you are interested how it looks, this is how it looks. It's pretty straightforward. You can simply go and create an identity, and then it will appear here in the list. And that's actually solved that specific challenge that we had. We also had other similar challenges that we also solved based on interviews, feedback from our users. The next thing I would like to talk about is scalability, which is very important. And for that, I would like to
Yes, I will
invite
start
you.
off here. Yeah, so when we look at scalability, just want to talk a little about the team that we had today. So we knew from the start that we would have a fairly small team. We would have a team of around 6 engineers, which we also have today. We would not be able to scale this team to 20 or 30 engineers. But still, we had very big ambitions for the product, of course. So today we have these 6 people. We have an engineering manager, we have a product manager and UX researcher to help us with this. But we actually also wanted to reach other areas of the business to bring features into the platform. Also, you can say areas where the core team does not have the competencies maybe, or don't have the expert knowledge to actually bring that feature to life and maintain it afterwards. So what we did was we have created a process around this to actually invite other teams in to contribute. So besides this process that we have made, we have also made a plugin model around that Waqas, you can talk a little more about.
Thanks, Jonas. So this plugin model, the way because we are only a handful of people in the developer portal, working actively on the core features. And what we did is we kind of implemented this inner sourcing approach within the company. And we created this plugin model that is built on top of what Backstage provides. So if you know Backstage already, they have this plugin structure where if you are an open source, coming from open source community, you can create a plugin, make a pull request to their repo, and then they will take a look, and that will be getting merged in. And they provide some tools, which gives you some front-end, back-end plugins, use some CLI, and then the plugins are created. So we just took that and made it a little better in terms of our context. So we created an automation on top of what was already given to us. We created something called a plugin scaffolder, which is basically gives you everything that is required to create a plugin and creates a pull request in your repo. So you are completely independent. We started to create that and then started to call the extended teams in and help them in a hackathon way to get into a room and trying to solve a problem together. And in this way, we have been able to onboard many teams onto our platform. And the way this whole plugin framework works is you come in, we help you out. Now the plugin creation takes like 3 minutes. And within 5-6 minutes, your plugin can actually go to production. So that's how much work we have done to make this easy for the other developers that are coming in. And using that, we have been able to, we'll show you in a minute, there's a lot of things, a lot of plugins that have been added that have been made by others in the community. So when I say community, that's within the Lego group. And with that said, I would like to show you how it all looks like. A quick disclaimer is that whatever you see here, I have kind of changed the data because we're using production, real data, let's call it, in all of our environments. So obviously I can't show you that data, but the data you see here is just made up data. So this was not, Backstage was not taking it pretty good. So there might be some errors, please ignore them because this data is fake. It's just made up data for this presentation. So here you see we have a dashboard, which is customizable according to the user. And then the main part here is the products, which, oh, okay. Let me, okay. How about now? No? How about now? Yes. All right. So that was the dashboard I was talking about. It's customizable for the users. So for every user, it will look different. The main thing is the products, and these are the digital products that the teams are building. And normally it's a huge list of products here, but since this data is not real, you only see one. And then when I come here, you might see some errors because I have hacked into the system so that I don't show you the real data. But you get some information about the product. You see some ownership, what this product owns. And in terms of APIs and applications, we have a place or a landing page for an APIs. So all the APIs that live in the company are here. We are adding more and more APIs in here almost every day. So whenever you need to utilize an API within Lego Group, you're sitting anywhere, you come here, you select the API, and you can do some interesting stuff, which I cannot do it because this is just made up data. But one of the examples is you can request access to API from right in the platform. You don't have to leave it. And you can also look at the definition of the API, if it's Open API or async API, or in this case, gRPC. Other than that, we have something called documentation. It's a local instance, so you don't see any docs. But this is one of the core features that people really liked, where different teams, product teams, started to put docs into here. So in our production environment, this is a big list, and a lot of our traffic is coming here for these documentations. And last, what I would like to show quickly is this scaffolders. It's something called software templates in Backstage language, and we have taken that and then built some templates on top. So in this case, this is the plugin scaffolder I showed you before, which we use to create plugins, and all the other teams or anyone in the Lego Group can use it. If you want to add some documentation, we also give you a very easy way to get started. So you just click a couple of buttons, and you get a pull request in your repo. And the moment the pull request goes in, your documentation is available in production in 2-3 minutes. And we have other scaffolders as well. And with that,
I think we are running out of time,
Yeah.
Waqas. So let's just go to the last part here.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready for some quiz. Let's see. We brought some code monkeys today that we would like to distribute to the lucky people who can get a question correct. So I think we'll just start because we have 1 minute left. So first question, how many pink gorillas did you see walking over the stage? Anyone?
can I answer? No?
We have one down there. Oh, 0. 0 is the correct answer.
Wow.
So you will get a set. Can you take the next question?
Yeah. Next question. How many engineers do we have at the Lego Group? You were the first one. Yes? Sorry? Right. You get a code monkey.
And if you saw any pink gorillas out there, I will have to get some of whatever you're having, I think. All right, last question. What was the main pain point for developers in the Lego Group? Yes. Yes. All right, it was too easy, I think.
Cool.
Good. But with that,
Thank
that
you
was
so
the
much.
end of the presentation. So I hope you learned something, but thanks for listening.